Hi, welcome to Movies Moment. Today we are going to explain a movie called Lamb. Spoilers ahead. Subscribe if you like this and catch us on the next one. Take care.
In the middle of a heavy snowfall in Iceland, a herd of horses becomes restless when they feel the presence of a mysterious, heavy-breathing entity. After driving the horses away, the same entity goes to the barn of a nearby farm and opens the door for the goats and sheep to escape. However, none of the animals dares to leave and they just watch the darkness from the other side of the barn. Suddenly, one of the sheep starts to feel sick, collapses on the floor, and this seems to have been caused by the presence of the creature. Finally, the entity goes to the farmhouse where the couple, Ingvar and Maria, live. They are celebrating Christmas with a beautiful meal, but while Maria is bringing the food to the table, she thinks she sees something or someone watching her through the window. The woman tries to look more closely, but finds nothing in the darkness of the night. Finally, she resumes the Christmas celebration and the creature leaves. A few months after this event, on an ordinary morning, Ingvar begins his work on the farm, alongside his faithful dog. When he gets to the barn, he feeds the goats and sheep he raises, while Maria drives the tractor to plow the land. After finishing this stage of the day, Ingvar returns home and sanitizes his hands for his next task, delivering the sheep. With Maria's help, he removes the lambs and, shortly after they are born, they put identification earrings in their ears to prevent them from being stolen. The birth of the lambs is successful, but Ingvar and Maria don't seem to be happy with their marriage. Throughout the day, they only have trivial conversations about work, hardly exchange glances, and show little or no affection for each other. The next day, the sheep that was sick in the presence of the mysterious entity is also about to give birth. Once again, Ingvar and Maria help with the delivery, but when they take the newborn baby out, they both exchange looks of surprise and strangeness, especially on Maria's part. Even so, the woman soon becomes fond of the lamb, a female, and takes her home, covering her body completely with a sheet. The days go by and Maria increasingly treats the lamb as if it were her own child, feeding it milk, bathing it and putting it to sleep. At first, Ingvar feels uncomfortable with the strangeness of the whole situation, but as time goes by, he comes to accept the idea and even takes a crib for the baby from his pantry. In time, the couple decide to choose a name for their youngest child, Ada. The presence of the little sheep seems to give new meaning to the couple, who grow closer and show a happiness they haven't felt for a long time. One morning, while Ingvar was repairing his tractor, his dog called him out to play in the field and he threw a ball for him to catch. However, the dog came back very nervous, as if something had frightened him. Ingvar goes to see what it is, but only finds a piece of rope with a loop in it on the ground, but he doesn't see anyone around. Nearby, Maria puts the clean clothes on the clothesline, until she hears noises from one of the sheep next to her house. She goes over and soon finds Ada's real mother, who is calling for her baby. The little sheep responds to its mother's call, but Maria doesn't like this at all and chases the sheep away. Shortly afterwards, Ingvar also appears to help her, but his efforts are futile, as the sheep keeps returning to the window in search of its young. The situation lasts into the night, but the couple don't want to give up their daughter and try to ignore the sheep's calls. After a bad night, Maria tells Ingvar that she's going out with the tractor, while he has to stay with Ada. Ingvar agrees to look after the baby and puts it to sleep, but unbeknownst to him, his pet cat is watching the lamb with a suspicious eye. When the baby finally falls asleep, Ingvar puts it to bed and goes to work in the workshop. However, he forgets to close the door of the house, which allows Ada's mother to come in and look for her. Later, after plowing all the land with the tractor, Maria finally returns home and asks Ingvar about Ada, who has left her daughter asleep on the sofa. However, she can't find it and searches the whole house, but there's no sign of the little sheep. Desperate, the couple split up to look for her, with Ingvar going down to the river, while Maria searches the outskirts of the farm. However, as they search for Ada, the fog starts to get thicker and thicker, making the search even more difficult. After searching everywhere, the two hear the sound of sheep and finally find Ada, who was with her real mother on the far side of the farm. On seeing her adopted daughter, Maria quickly takes her away from her mother and pulls her back to herself. At that moment, it is revealed that Ada was born with the head and right foot of a lamb, but the rest of her body is identical to that of a human being. Despite the mystery about the origin of this hybrid being, the couple don't care and take Ada back home. However, in the middle of the journey, the mother sheep runs and cries out for her baby, but in an unexpected way. Maria becomes enraged and orders the animal to leave her and her daughter alone. Months after this event, spring arrives and Maria enjoys time with her daughter in a flowery field. Ada has grown to the point where she needs to wear human clothes and her mother also presents her with a flower crown. Everything seems to be fine with the farming family, but Ada's mother continues to pester the couple outside the house. Meanwhile, far away, A car stops in the middle of the road and a man and two mysterious women emerge from it. The three of them then open the trunk and pull out a bearded, bewildered man. After that, the trio drive off and leave the man alone, who, with no other choice, continues on his way down the road. Back at the farm, the day is drawing to a close and the sheep is once again calling insistently for its young outside the house. Just then, Maria tries to sleep and ends up having a nightmare. In it, the woman sees herself surrounded by goats and sheep, with terrifying looks in her direction, as if they disapprove of her attitude towards Ada and her mother. After this terrible vision, Maria wakes up upset, only to continue hearing the sounds of Ada's mother. No longer able to stand all the noise, Maria makes up her mind and goes to the workshop, where she picks up Ingvar's shotgun. Seconds later, the farm dog appears and acts as if he wants to stop the woman, but she leaves him in the barn and walks away. Finally, Maria takes the shotgun to the sheep and, coldly and without hesitation, she shoots the poor animal in the forehead and it falls lifeless to the ground. If that wasn't bad enough, Maria carries the sheep's body across the land and buries it in a hidden place, from now on being Ada's only mother. With the job finished, she returns home and cleans up Ada's mother's blood that has splattered on her body. Unbeknownst to her, the same mysterious guy who was in the trunk of the car had arrived at the farm and witnessed the whole thing. This same person spends the night on the sofa in the stable, and when he wakes up in the morning, he thinks he has seen a being in human form, but with the head of a sheep. However, this image soon disappears and he thinks it was just a strange dream. He then leaves the stable, where he meets Ingvar outside. The farmer soon recognizes him as his brother, Pedor, and invites him to breakfast at his house. There, Maria prepares a meal for everyone at the table and then calls Ada, who is able to stand up and eat like a human being. As expected, Pedor finds the whole situation absurd and doesn't hide his contempt for his brother's daughter. After the meal, while Maria and Ada bathe, Pedor watches his brother's wife. Seconds later, Ingvar appears and Pedor tries to disguise it, but then asks where this strange creature that they are raising as if it were a child has come from. However, his brother only says that Ada represents a chance for renewed happiness in their home. Pedor continues to question him, but Ingvar replies that he can stay in the house for as long as he needs to, as long as he doesn't mess with his life, his wife's life and, above all, his daughter's life. The guy begrudgingly agrees to stay at the house because he's in debt, which led to him being arrested in his car and thrown out onto the street hours before. So, on another morning at work, Pedor helps his brother and sister-in-law with the farm chores, preparing the land for the harvest. After their hard work, the three of them stop for coffee in the field. Ingvar, Ada and their dog play in the field, while Maria and Pedor prepare the meal. At that moment, without Ingvar seeing, his brother shows his true nature and tries to win Mary over. She rejects him, but Pedor teases back, saying that they are committing madness by creating this hybrid of human and sheep, who looks more like a freak. Maria doesn't like it at all, but for the sake of her family, she lets it go and puts up with her brother-in-law's presence in her house. However, things only get worse when Ingvar calls Pedor to help him empty the barn. Again, his brother isn't too keen on the task, but he goes anyway. There, he finds his old drum set and starts playing, which attracts Ada's curiosity. A few minutes later, Pedor sits down in an old armchair in the barn and Ada again tries to interact with her uncle. The man then takes the opportunity to tease the child and picks up some grass to give to Ada. Following her nature, she accepts and starts eating the grass, while her uncle mocks her for being a sheep hybrid. Seeing what his brother is doing, Ingvar goes over and scolds him, but Pedor replies that no matter what he thinks, his daughter is not human, but an animal. Later, while Maria and Ingvar are asleep, Pedor loses patience with both of them and decides to put an end to it once and for all. He sneaks into the bedroom, lures Ada into the barn and takes her brother's rifle. With the gun in his hand, he takes Ada to the farthest part of the farm and points the gun at the little girl, his finger about to pull the trigger. Seconds later, Maria wakes up from her sleep, and when she sees the empty cradle, her maternal intuition makes her believe that Ada is in danger. She runs around the house looking for her daughter and, to her surprise, finds her asleep on Pedor's lap, who has given up on his plan before it's too late. A few days after this incident, Maria goes to a cemetery, where she kneels before a grave with the name Ada on it. However, it's not her new daughter, but her baby, who perished prematurely a long time ago. Because of this, Maria gave the same name to her sheep-human hybrid offspring, as a way of paying homage to the daughter she had lost. This loss was also responsible for distancing her and her husband, to the point where their marriage became so distant and unhappy. But thanks to the arrival of Ada, the two have become increasingly united in their union. Pedor's attitude towards the child has also changed, and he even takes her for walks around the farm as if she were his niece. One day, Peter and Ada drive their tractor around the farm and past the lake to catch some fish. This allows Maria and Ingvar to get even closer and, after so many years, the two finally have the chance to enjoy a romantic moment. Hours later, Peter returns with Ada on the tractor, but the vehicle breaks down midway and the two are forced to return on foot. After a long walk, they finally arrive home, where they find Ingvar and Maria enjoying a game of cards. However, Peter arrives in a bad mood because of what happened to the tractor. Ingvar decides to cheer up his brother and invites him, his wife and Ada to watch a handball championship on television. The four of them keep an eye on the game, but the excitement is short-lived as the team that Peter supports ends up losing the match. To make up for this, Maria puts a tape in the VCR, which contains the music videos of her brother-in-law's old band. Amidst the music, the three of them start dancing and having fun, accompanied by lots of drinking and games. However, Ada decides to leave the house and finds her pet dog outside, who is very restless. She goes over to the dog, who is staring intently at a mysterious presence nearby. Ada looks in the same direction and before her eyes appears the same creature that invaded her parents' barn. Frightened, the child runs away, but the dog runs towards the creature and, unfortunately, it fatally wounds him. Meanwhile, the trio continue to have fun in the house, until Ingvar can no longer stand. So Maria and Peter take him back to bed and soon afterwards, Ada appears and also lies down next to him, still frightened by what she has seen. The two of them sleep together and in the meantime, Maria goes to tidy up the mess in the kitchen. Shortly afterwards, Peter again takes advantage of his brother's absence and tries to win Maria over once more. She continues to refuse him and then he reveals that he saw what she did to Ada's real mother. When she hears this, Maria has no reaction and fears that both her husband and her daughter will discover the cruel act she has committed. She fears losing Ada forever, so she decides to accept Peter's advances and kisses him in a corridor. However, she soon reveals that she's faking everything, pushes the man into a back room and leaves him locked in. Peter starts shouting for her to get him out, but instead Maria starts playing the piano so that Ingvar doesn't hear his brother. When Peter finally stops screaming, Maria waits for the night to pass and leaves Ingvar resting in bed next to Ada. The next day, she wakes up early, goes to check the room where she left Peter and finds him asleep on the floor. Maria wakes him up and tells him that they need to go for a drive before Ingvar wakes up. Without resisting, Peter accepts and gets into the car, still bewildered from the previous day's drinking. The two of them travel a long way until they reach the side of the road. There, Maria hands over a suitcase containing Peter's belongings and explains that Ada is not only her daughter, but also an opportunity for her and her husband to restart their lives after the tragic perishment of their baby. Ashamed of everything he has done, Peter understands what Maria means and also knows that his presence in his brother's house will only bring more problems. After this conversation, the two wait on the road until a bus appears to take Peter away. Despite everything, Maria gives her brother-in-law a little money for his trip and hugs him goodbye, proving that the two of them don't hold any grudges against each other. Peter leaves, while Maria continues on her way home. At the farm, Ingvar finally wakes up and looks for his wife and brother, but can't find them. Seeing that the car isn't there, he deduces that they've gone away to sort something out and decides to have coffee with his daughter. After the meal, he remembers that Peter left the broken tractor somewhere on the farm and sets off in search of it. Before he goes, he calls for his dog, unaware of the tragic fate that has befallen his faithful companion. With no response from the little dog, Ingvar decides to go anyway, taking Ada with him. Minutes later, the two finally find the broken tractor and Ingvar does his best to fix it, but to no avail. Unable to do anything else, he invites his daughter for a walk down to the lake to see if they can catch some fish for dinner. Meanwhile, Maria finally returns home and calls for Ingvar and Ada, but they are no longer there. Again, she senses that something bad is about to happen and goes in search of the two of them. Suddenly, Maria hears gunshots in the distance and runs desperately, fearing the worst. Unbeknownst to her, Ingvar is shot right in the neck and then shot in the leg with his own shotgun. The farmer falls to the ground, badly injured, and sees before him the entity that had been lurking on his farm. The creature is an anthropomorphic being who, like Ada, is also a hybrid of goat and human. He takes revenge for the perishment of the sheep that gave birth to Ada by hurting Ingvar, just as he did his dog, and intends to take his daughter with him. Despite this, Ada is saddened to see her loving adoptive father on the brink of elimination and lies down beside him. However, her real father soon pulls her away and, even though Ingvar tries to resist, he takes her with him to an unknown place. Minutes later, Maria finally arrives at the scene, where she finds her husband about to perish. In the face of despair and sadness, she tries to save her husband, but Ingvar's wounds are too deep and there is nothing more she can do. She then asks where Ada is, but Ingvar perishes in her arms. Maria, who had experienced a tragedy with the perishment of her first daughter, is now faced with another, having lost the love of her life and the daughter she adopted. Searching the surrounding area for her, Maria sees the hybrid creature taking Ada, who is now out of her reach forever. Finally, she comes to terms with the fact that she was the main culprit in everything that happened and, with a sigh and tears in her eyes, she says goodbye to the family she loved so much.